All right, well, I'm Chris Molitor. I have the username The Molitor on ThemeForest, so I've been on there for about 7 years now, full-time. So a lot of my talk is kind of experience from ThemeForest, but I'm going to try to apply it to as many marketplaces as I can. All right, so I'm going to talk about 5 things I wish somebody told me before I started selling stuff online, and I'll just jump right into it. The first one is thou shalt provide support. Don't ask, but you can see I could use some help. So, all right. So, I don't know if you can read this very well. Nobody reads the documentation, just so you know. But one thing I do is I make all my documentation available online, so if people have questions, I just reference them to the online documentation. But don't get upset if people ask you questions that you wrote a big, huge paper about in your documentation, because they probably didn't read it. Make video walkthroughs. This is one of my core things. I at least do a little 5-minute to 10-minute walkthrough of everything I release. At a high level, I don't go into too much detail, just to give people an idea. I felt like I've benefited a lot from that, managing buyer expectations up front. So that's one thing I recommend. If you don't have video editing software, you don't want to buy it yet, there's a free service online called Screener. You can do a quick screencast with, but I definitely suggest buying your own software. Camtasia is one I use on the Mac. So. Restrict your support to buyers. When I first started doing this, I just had an open forum. Anybody could come on, but you soon realize that people aren't always legitimately coming across your product, so you end up doing a little bit of support for people who didn't actually buy your stuff. So be sure that you utilize the Envato API to check the purchase code and make sure someone actually bought it. And don't be afraid to charge for support. I actively charge for phone consultations, and if it's a support request that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head, I refer them to submit a request. So don't be afraid to charge for that. They shouldn't expect you to bend over backwards for every request. And if you struggle responding within 24 hours, consider hiring. If that's an issue for you, if it's not manageable, if it cuts into your work time, consider hiring. I did it for a little bit when I was having trouble with support requests, so I think it's a good experience just to make sure you manage your buyers' requests. All right, next, thou shalt get 1-star ratings. So this is just across the board, all right? Sorry. Okay. All right. So try to manage your buyer expectations before and after purchasing. Do your best, but just be aware that no matter what you do, no matter how good your documentation is, your videos, your support, you will inevitably get a 1-star. That's just the name of the game. That's something you gotta face the facts with. But one way to kind of counteract that is, and this is a benefit to providing support, is for me, every time I successfully help someone with a request, I actively ask them to go onto ThemeForest, go to my profile or where they bought the theme and rate it. Give me a positive rating. I just ask for positive ratings outright. I think you should do that if you are providing good support and you think you deserve it. So, but some people just want to see the world burn, so just keep that in mind. Thou shalt be imitated. All right. So, depending on the marketplace that you're in, I don't think it's unique to ThemeForest that imitation's an issue that you have to consider. But one of the best ways you can really counteract imitation is to build your own brand. So one thing that I started doing very simply was making sure all my little thumbnails had the same logo on them. So everyone started recognizing my material from others to differentiate yourself from other themes or other products. And another way to kind of combat imitation is the Kaizen theory, which is continuous updating and improving of products. You want to continually improve your work. With themes, it relates to adding responsive support, for example, or adding new technology that everyone seems to be interested in. I don't have a good example for the other marketplaces, but something to consider. Thou shalt hire an accountant, invest in retirement, and spend wisely. We all know this guy. I don't know if you know the MC Hammer story. You should look into it. Okay. No references, I guess. Okay. Sales fluctuate a lot and are never guaranteed. No matter how popular your products are or your services, you will see a rise and fall. It's a world-based economy, so it's really hard to gauge where the market is this month or that month. So don't think that because you have a huge product that's bringing in tons of sales, that it's going to stay that way. It's going to fluctuate, so you got to anticipate that. You don't need the latest hardware or software. I'm a firm believer on that. I try to be as frugal as possible. Sometimes you're forced to update just because of the limitations, but you know, I'm still rocking my iMac from 2005 in some instances. So, and the software for ThemeForce guys, you know, you just need something that you can code on. You don't need the fanciest thing. And if you're buying a house, this is some advice that I heard recently, is you buy the cheapest one in a nice neighborhood and then you renovate it. There you go. So, all right, thou shalt grow weary of working from home. All right. So one of the things that I kind of did to help combat getting exhausted at home and just restless was I got an adjustable desk. I have a geek desk that I can stand up and work at for a couple hours. That's actually helped me a lot. And before I had that, I was sitting on my desk for like 6 hours at a time, and it's just exhausting. And it affects your work, it affects your mind. I think it's important to get as much exercise as possible. So. And on top of that, one thing that I had to keep telling myself was I don't have to do a full 8 hours, especially if it's not like focused time. Don't be afraid to work less hours if that means you're working focused hours. So even if you need to just do 3 hours one day, but it's like supercharged, you know what you're doing, then do it. Don't make people think that you have to fill some unexpected time slot. All right.